If you were born between the late 1990s and early 2010s, you should be familiar with the term Flash games. The Flash player was originally released in 1996, before the 2020 pandemic and right after World War I. Flash games were an enjoyable pastime and creative tool for young students and early game designers, but unfortunately, as the final kick in the groin of 2020, Flash games is shutting down. Now, this is what I believe to be one of the biggest online losses that has happened in the last few years. Because of this, we are losing quite a large sum of online history. There are thousands of Flash games that can be found throughout the internet. And in the next few days, most of them will be inaccessible. All that history, all those games, will be lost. While there are plans to help save most of these games, there will be a lot of smaller, less popular ones that will be lost and never recovered, causing much sadness from the Mario and Sonic fan game and custom character societies. The first time I can remember getting into Flash games was in primary school, middle school for Americans. We were sometimes allowed to use the computers during breaks. Naturally, as a young, pre-puberty child, me and my friends gravitated towards only the highest of educational Flash games. We used sites like GameFudge and Silver Games as they were the only sites we were aware of at the time. Newgrounds. This was mainly due to my existence as a rural Irish child that didn't know what the internet was. Just for reference, we used a O2 USB stick to access the internet, and any basic file took the entire evening to install. Hashtag simpler times. Anyway, enough about my shitty internet, more about Flash games and how they're dying. I spent a lot of time on Flash games during my youth, and I had a lot of free time. The idea of thousands of free games to my young mind was basically unheard of at the time. I don't want to understate this. I spent entire days playing these games. Personal favorites of mine include Happy Wheels, Interactive Buddy, Kingdom Rush, QWOP, just to name a few. Obviously, with the volume and range of games that there were released over the years, there would be a jumble of gems and things I call coal. Some examples of coal include Orny Champions, which can be best summed up by a squirrel trapped in a washing machine, and of course, how could we forget every Mario and Sonic bootleg on the site. Why is there so many of them? While Flash games are dying, there is hope. Sites have changed the games to non-Flash player-based systems, using such formats such as HTML5 in an effort to save previous games by upgrading them to this new format. There has been a project set up for a while with this goal called the Flash Games Preservation Project, which hopes to preserve Flash games, allowing them to remain playable for the foreseeable future. The project uses both Launchbox's and Apache's server capabilities to access Flash games on Windows. The unfortunate side of this, however, is the file size. It is a massive 31 gigabytes, but this does consist of thousands of Flash games. Or, there is a smaller version which only consists of 2 gigabytes and will only have a smaller number of better performing games. Another problem is the fact it takes a while to be downloaded into the local system, and some may not work because of certain systems and miscellaneous reasons which I will not list to because I don't really want to. Anyway, on to the bad things. The sad reality of Flash games is the fact they've kind of gone out of fashion. We all know that times change and trends become outdated. The unstoppable wheel of progress won't stop for anyone or anything, not even for the thousands of Flash games released. In the words of Isaac Marion, everything dies. Bad, good, death comes for us all. Nothing can escape it. I will die. You will die. My conclusion, this video will be demonetized for praising death. Doesn't really matter considering it's not monetized to begin with. But I would like to get it to there at some point, so maybe just hit that little red button below this video and maybe you won't die so soon. Wink wink, nudge nudge. It's become outdated. Most of the games and the player itself have been out for at least 2 decades now. To put that in perspective, Halo Reach, the original Red Dead Redemption and the original Call of Duty Black Ops were released in 2010, and they were considered the pinnacle of graphics and game design at the time. Fast forward 10 years and compare them to what we have now. Performance wise, we have Assassin's Creed, Animal Crossing, Doom Eternal, Last of Us 2, VR, and major mobile gaming, which were basically not a thing in 2010, and look at it now. It's a major component of recent gaming, and the player has been out since 1996, making it a good 24 years old. It couldn't really compete with these new methods of gaming. Just from 2010 onwards, there were a large amount of new trends that would really render Flash games more inconvenient. Mobile games took off majorly and were more accessible due to the fact it's more convenient and more people own phones, while laptops and computers are often more expensive and can usually only be allocated to a single area, while phones are on hand and carried with the person to wherever they may need it, again making the Flash player less user-friendly. As sad as it is that Flash games is ending, it kind of was at the end of its string. Flash games were often an outlet for indie game development, a beginning if you will for some people that went on to create some amazing stuff. Super Meat Boy, VVVVV, Kingdom Rush, Line Rider, and the much acclaimed pigeon dating sim Hatoful Boyfriend that got its start out as a April Fool's Day Flash project but was later turned into a full-on game and released on Steam. Imagine how worse off the world would be without the existence of Hatoful Boyfriend. Now that would be a missed opportunity. Kidding aside, this platform allowed for people to create great things. Most individuals use this as their first platform for creation. It allowed them to be creative with their own original or bootleg games. These games gave life to basically every category of gaming. FPS, puzzle, strategy, action, sports, and of course role-playing, which made up the largest category of Flash games. And finally, legacy. While the Flash player is leaving us very soon, the legacy that this service is leaving behind us is monumental. While it doesn't seem like it, Flash has touched most of our lives, almost as much as the Catholic Church likes to touch children, oftentimes being the beginning for many game developers and people who try to become game developers. To wrap things up, Flash games were amazing and will always be amazing, but if there was a time to end them, it would be now. 2020 needs something to go out on, and I doubt it would be a high point, so yeah, we'll compromise with this. At this point in the world, technology-wise, we have so many alternatives to the Adobe player, with so many different platforms that can go over the limits of it, and there isn't really much point at creating projects directly for the player. If I would have to say one last thing, it would be, thank you for Happy Wheels. That game was lit. Alright guys, thank you for watching. This is the end of the video, if you couldn't tell. Again, if you would like to, please consider subscribing and liking. You don't have to, obviously, but I'd very much appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and good night.